are. Um, we got a lot to talk about today. I am also sort of expanding the live today. We're going to be here on Substack and YouTube, and I think we're going to go live on TikTok as well this morning. Let me just see if I can. Let me just bring my live feed up here on my iPad so I can see who's there. And hey, Jules, how are you? Hang on, let me just hang on 1 second. And now let me bring TikTok into the conversation. Hang on, just bear with me for a moment. Hang on 1 second, guys. Hang on. Okay, and let's go live on TikTok. Okay, so hey, Tori, how are you? All right, so it's been a while since I've been live in multiple places. I cannot find something weird with TikTok here because I can't find the actual TikTok chat. So I don't know what to do about that. But how is everybody? I hope everybody's doing well. So we're live now on TikTok. I'm live now on TikTok, Xenocracy on Substack, and on YouTube. So we'll see how it goes. I know TikTok is under new management now. So I don't know how that's going to work out. So let's see if things are potentially better or worse. I guess depending on how you look at it. Eventually, I'm going to be adding Instagram as well. We're going to go live on Instagram. I can't do that yet because I don't have my minimum number of followers on Instagram. You need a minimum of 1,000 followers on Instagram to go live. So hopefully I'll have that soon. If you are on Instagram, follow me. It's just Mitch Ivan, MITCHEIVEN. Follow me on the platform, and once I get my minimum required number of people, we'll go live on there. This is not where I want to start. Let me pull up another window. Where I think I want to start today is we find ourselves, right, in a moment, right, where the village idiot Donald Trump, had announced that he had we had a great conversation. He had announced that he had this great conversation with Governor Tim Walz, right? He announced it in a Truth Social post. I'm sorry I don't have that post up here. TikTok, unfortunately, you guys, you can't see. I don't know if TikTok is going to be friendlier or less friendly to pro-democracy influencers, but with the new management, I assume it's not going to get better. But up until this point, I can't show you, the clips that I'm going to be sharing with Substack and YouTube, because TikTok, the algorithm would just end the live and it would ban me. So you'll have to just kind of bear with me as I'm sort of reading these things. I can't share the visuals with you guys. Maybe we can. I don't know if things have gotten better over there, but we'll see what happens. But irrespective, for the stuff I can't show you, I will do my best to try to explain what we're looking at here through the streaming platform on the other areas. So sorry too, guys. I still have that little remnants of the cold that's lasted a week and a half now. So hey, Marie Claire, how are you? So we had this reporting, right? That it wasn't even reporting. The village idiot Donald Trump announces on Truth Social yesterday. Oh, Jules, is it freezing? Is Substack freezing? I think I know why. Hang on. No, I thought maybe I was unplugged. Is it just Jules, or is everybody else on Substack having technical issues. Let me know, and I'll see if there's some latency stuff going on. Just let me know in the chat, guys. So Jules, you're freezing. Anybody else on Substack getting freeze ups? Um, Substack can be a little glitchy. Not infrequently. So we'll hopefully it'll. So Catherine, you're good. Gamer Vet Dad, you're good. Yeah, Jules. Sometimes it just there can be glitchiness. Could be your Wi-Fi. It could be latency on my end. Maybe try if you have a moment to do it. Disengaging and coming back onto the live. Sometimes that cleans it up. I thought maybe I didn't have a wired connection. I was going unwired, but I am wired in. So it's not a wireless issue on my end, but it could be other stuff. Anyway, hey, the real John Wick. I'm glitchy on TikTok. Well, I mean, I think TikTok's been weird I haven't been on in about a couple of weeks or 2 weeks, but I think TikTok's been weird. I've gotten a lot of reports from people. A lot of people are telling me that people are all saying they're saying Mitch TikTok is acting weird. But since there's been some issues, I think, with the TikTok servers, with the transition over to Oracle. So I don't know if any of that weirdness is still going on, and I have no idea how the algorithm is going to treat us now that it's being retrained by Trump-loving Larry Ellison and his folks over at Oracle. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me right. So we'll see what happens. Maybe TikTok will get better. I'm not optimistic, but we'll see. So so the Village Idiot comes out with his Truth Social post yesterday, right? And his Truth Social post was something along the lines, I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was something along the lines, I had a very good conversation with Governor Walz. We're on the same page. He wants to get rid of the violent criminals. And the idiot gave the impression that Walz was now on board with Trump's supposed kinder, gentler version of ICE that we'd be seeing in Minneapolis, St. Paul, right? That was but that Walz was with him on this. And after the Village Idiot insulting Walz for days and days and weeks for calling for Walz's imprisonment, it was a welcomed relief, even if the Village Idiot was lying about the conversation that he had with Walz, or lying about how Walz felt about the conversation, right? Even if because that was almost certainly the case, right? And even though it took 2 cold-blooded murders on video that we saw for and terrible optics and absolute tanking on the only issue left that the Village Idiot wasn't completely underwater in, which was immigration. Even after that, you finally got him calling Walz, right? Or Walz calling. He said Walz called him. And when Walz responded to this on X and told us about the call, he kept it general, right? He said we had a productive call, and I'm going to try to work with him. And again, fact check me on the act. I'm just paraphrasing from what I remember, so feel free to fact check me or even real time. Tell me now if I'm wrong in any of the chats. I'm perfectly fine with that. But Walz, again, excuse me. I'm sorry for coughing in your ears, guys. I still have some leftover bits of this cold, so I'm going to try my best not to gross you out and blow my nose into the microphone or cough in your face, but it's going to happen sometimes because it sneaks up on me. But Walz, you could tell that Walz now was doing what everybody does when they're trying to reason with the Village Idiot, when they're trying to reason with the sociopath, right? They'll, if they're highly critical of him, prior to trying to reason with him, in this case, to literally save people's lives, they'll back off of the criticism because they know he's so thin-skinned, weak, and stupid that if you upset him in any capacity. If you piss him off, if you rankle him in any way, then you're going to be back at square one because they know he's too emotionally unstable for that. And where Waltz would have called out a bunch of lies that he posted in his True Social posts, where he would have called those out, that isn't necessarily going to happen once Waltz thinks that maybe the killing will stop, right? Maybe maybe we can get rid of ICE. Maybe we can get this under control in my state, right? Um, and also, Waltz is smart enough to understand that Donald's an imbecile, and that, like President Xi and Vladimir Putin, and Claudia Sheinbaum, President of Mexico, and Prime Minister Carney, that you can manipulate once you can get Donald Trump to stop hating on you. He's so dumb that you can pretty easily manipulate him to get him to do what you want and need him to do, as long as he thinks it's his idea and there's some benefit for him to do that, right? That's pretty standard, right? So Waltz, I'm sure, was thinking that I can begin the process, the slow process of ingratiating myself to this idiot, and then I can probably manage him and get the ICE Gestapo out of my state, or at least get them under control. And it felt like with the next part of that was Greg Bovino, Little Napoleon, the very angry little man who was the on the ground commander of the ICE Gestapo, right? And who went traveled around with his cameraman because he also wants to be a little movie star, and he seemed to be the primary voice and advocate of the intense violence that we were seeing the ICE agents, the idiots on the street, the slobs and the lardasses and the brain dead goons, right, engaging in. Not just the actual murders, of which we watched 2 of them happen in real time, right? Both Renee and Alex, who were killed by ICE. But not just perpetuating the murders themselves, but also all of the extreme violence that we've been seeing over and over again, ripping people out of their cars, breaking car windows, ICE pushing people around, beating the shit out of people, throwing citizens, non-citizens, and whoever else they want to the ground because they're unstable, right? Bovino seemed to be the character behind that intense violence, or at least the public face of that violence, because all the ICE cowards have their faces covered, most of them. Every once in a while, you seem to get one that's really proud of being a piece of shit, and they don't cover their faces. But I appreciate that more than the Gestapo members who do cover their faces, right? So we have that. But Bovino gets the village idiot has this conversation with Governor Waltz. The village idiot, clearly, there was reporting last week. I didn't talk about it here on TikTok, but YouTube and Substack, you were with me when we talked about it about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago before this. And there was reporting that the village idiot wasn't liking the optics. He wasn't liking his poll numbers sinking as much as he's telling us that they're going up and up and up, and they've never been better. They've never been better. So great. The fake news. I'm going to sue the New York Times. The Siena poll is all bullshit. I'm going to tell you that right now. Of course, it's not. It's real. But and as much as he's delusional and he's not here anymore in mind, he sometimes is able to re-enter reality for just enough time to wrap his brain around the fact that everybody hates him, and that politically he's done, right? He's been able to occasionally find those, although it's less and less seems to be happening less and less, he can find those realistic moments, and he can, kind of understand the baseline data points, right, that are against him. And that's when he wants to sue the New York Times for the most recent Siena poll, right? So, anyway, he reacted to that, right? And Governor Walz's office let us know that maybe, sorry again, guys, maybe we'll start to see a drawdown in the ICE Gestapo. Maybe we'll start to see some of these buffoons maybe removed eventually. So we think, right? And obviously Democrats stood up, and House Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, we all heard Chuck Schumer say this 2 days ago, that Democrats were not going to support funding ICE. They were going to block the portion of the reconciliation package, the funding package that would fund ICE. It doesn't necessarily mean it would stop ICE, because a lot of money has already been allocated to ICE. ICE is as well funded as some small armies at this point in third world countries, and they act worse, right? So it wouldn't, the Democrats' efforts to finally stand up wouldn't necessarily get rid of ICE, but it was a shot in the, a shot against the Gestapo, right? And we've seen over the last 24 hours more and more Republicans coming out. Rand Paul said that he chairs the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate. He said that his committee is going to insist that Senator Rand Paul is going to insist that the ICE leadership testify before his committee. That's going to happen. He said it's going to happen before February 12th. We've had the leading candidate in the pending governor's race in Minnesota, the GOP leading candidate, who is the lawyer, the defense lawyer for Jonathan Ross, the murderer who killed Renee Good, right? That animal, right? This is the guy representing that wild animal, right? And he's the lead GOP candidate right now at this point in the primary, who is hoping to win and be the next governor of Minnesota. He bailed out because I think the pressure, from ICE's behavior, from the murder of Alex Preddy, right, is too much. And in protest, he bailed out. And we're hearing more and more, with the exception of the full-line crazies in the Senate. I'm talking about the Markwayne Mullins. I'm talking about the Ashley Brooks. I'm talking about the maybe the Josh Hawleys. We'll see. But with the exception of the MAGA cult members, the Mike Lees in the Senate, it seems like the U.S. Senate is Senator Cassidy. I'm talking about Republicans in the Senate. Senator Cassidy recently stood up and said we need a full investigation, both at the state and the federal level. So the pressure has been enormous, and that's good. Now, here's the thing. The reason the pressure has been enormous has been because of the anti-ICE protesters and all of the people shooting videos nonstop, right? This community that I am working with now, called Chorus, it's a community where a lot of us, those that are pro-democracy influencers, some of us have been privileged to be included in a cohort where we're getting a training, social media training, and it is we're being given a stipend to help us handle the bills. This is something the right's been doing for years, very successfully. The left has taken a while to catch on to it. But I having access to that community now because our cohort has started, and I've gotten into this one, and I'm very thankful for that. We're getting briefings now every day, and I'm going to be right after I get off of here. I'll go to another briefing at 12:30. But we're getting daily briefings, and we're starting to understand what they're training us to understand is the social media echo chamber and the social media ecosystem, right? And how it is that social media won the election for the village idiot Donald Trump in 2024, and how aggressive Republicans have been in the social media space for the last 10 years. And the reason I bring that up now is because when I'm talking about the fact that all of these Republicans are surrendering and that the village idiot a little bit is surrendering, it's because until ICE was right now, from the metrics that we're seeing, right, from the data that we're seeing, is we're learning how to read the data now. We're being trained to be able to read the metrics and read the data. And, ICE has been the Gestapo for months now. ICE has been the story on social media. Yes, we get these ticks, these click ups with Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, we've get with the Epstein cover up. Yes, we're getting these clicks and tips at and in the metrics coming from social media over the last couple of months as the economy tanks and the village idiot does dumb things in that space. But the thing that is really where all the virality is on social media right now across all platforms. Substack, YouTube, TikTok, across all platforms is ICE, right? And it isn't good for the GOP. It isn't good for Republicans. It's not good for the MAGA community because these constant videos that are being recorded in real time of the ICE Gestapo committing crimes, stomping on the Constitution, murdering people, abusing people, beating the living shit out of people, breaking people's windows, ramming into people's fucking cars, insulting people, threatening people. These videos have shown America and the world just how untrained, unqualified, incompetent, raging, stupid, and unaccountable the Gestapo members are. And that's taken over social media. It's indisputable. That is the and the message has been catastrophic for MAGA. Catastrophic for the Trump administration. And, I know there may be folks on TikTok that vehemently disagree with me, and we can debate all of these things all the time. We can debate policy. We can debate what's right and what's wrong. But you can debate until the cows come home. The data is the data, right? And the numbers are the numbers, right? And when the metrics match the polling, when the data that everything on social media, everything that matters on social media is about ICE, and the data shows that it's these videos, not the right-wing echo chamber, not the right-wing podcasters, not the right-wing bullshitters on Fox News, not all the Trump apologists that you can find on every social media platform, right? But the data is just these videos. It's not a babbling talking head like me on the left. It is these videos that are owning social media, and it's bad for Trump. You can't argue it. You can argue all you want, but that's the reality. It doesn't matter. The data is the data, and whatever your opinion is completely irrelevant because that's where we are now. So, what's weird about all this, right? What is disturbing to me, and I'm going to get to this video that I'm going to be able to show everybody but the folks on TikTok, is that even with the data, even with the fact that the Trump administration is clearly aware, as dumb as all the idiots in the right-wing echo chamber are, as dumb as a rock as they are, there are smart people who understand social media, who have been driving the narrative on the right for 10 years, and they've kicked the shit out of the left. They've destroyed us. That's why these programs like I am involved with now are trying to play catch up. We're trying to take back the internet. We're trying to take control of the narrative so that the truth gets out there, right? But what is disturbing is even though the people surrounding Trump who have told him that you're drowning in the polls now, and that these videos, these videos from people on the street all over Minneapolis, St. Paul, are tanking the only policy issue where you were not completely underwater in your polling. You need to do something, even though they've done something. They got rid of Bovino. They put the immigration slob, Czar Tom Homan, up there. The Village Idiot talked about his good meeting with Waltz. They haven't stopped the shit, right? They haven't killed anybody in a couple days. Thank God for that. But they haven't stopped the shit. And I think they think they're going to get away with it. I think they think, all right, we're gonna send some messaging out. We're gonna make some changes, some subtle cosmetic changes to our leadership, and we're still gonna let the ICE animals run roughshod and rampant over the people of Minnesota. We're not gonna stop the shit. We're just gonna provide lip service to try to shift the messaging on social media to try to save ourselves. To try to shut the fuck up all the Republicans that are getting mad, to try to shut up the Democrats, the Democratic senators who aren't going to fund ICE, to try to get Mitch and large influencers who are well bigger than Mitch, to try to get Mitch and influencers who are significantly larger than him, to shut the fuck up about ICE and to focus on some other shit that's bothering them. But we're still going to let the Gestapo just beat the shit out of people. And inevitably, I'm sorry to say, folks, and it is terrifying, they're going to kill someone else. Because they want to. Because they can. Because thus far, Jonathan Ross may not be held accountable. The confederacy of morons and animals, right? The confederacy who shot Alex Preddy 9 or 10 times after they took his gun away. As of now, we don't know who they are. ICE is protecting and shielding them. And it looks like, maybe not, but it looks like they might get away with just cold-blooded murder. So the Gestapo is still on the street, and they're still engaged in urban warfare, in idiotic urban warfare, because these aren't soldiers, these are putzes, right? With 47 days of training, because I'm the 47th president. Let's make it 47 days. Right? I mean, it's insane. So I want to show you guys this video that I'm not sure. I love to give credit when folks send me video clips and stuff. I know Lacey has sent me some stuff, and I hope to share it with you guys now. And I know a few others have sent me some things as well. I know TikTok, I don't check my DMs as often. I'm going to try to get better about that now. Hopefully TikTok will be a place to go again, and I'm going to try to come back and see if I can make create some space on TikTok and achieve some opportunity to be able to disseminate information out to you there. But if you DM me your stuff on TikTok, I'm going to try to do a better effort to see it. But so I'm not sure if anybody sent me this clip. I don't. I was putting this together about a half hour, 45 minutes ago, and I'm not totally sure. So I apologize for not giving credit if somebody sent me this clip. My apologies in advance. I know TikTok, you can't see it. I think you'll be able to hear it through the microphone. I don't know, and everybody else you will be able to see it. But this clip is at a gas station. And well, let me just read you Kevin Cruz. Kevin Cruz posted this, and let me just read you because his explanation of this clip explains it perfectly, and I really want you to see this. One armed goon loses his shit at an observer who's backing up, and then several more armed goons tackle the observer to the ground, and then even more armed goons form a protective shield around the armed goons, handcuffing the observer for hurting an armed goon's feelings. This can't be reformed, which is the point that ICE needs to be defunded and done away with. It can't happen immediately, but it needs to happen. But what you're going to see is I want you to see the emotional instability of this ICE agent, how he loses his ability to control himself. And while this observer is backing up, this fucking immature, childish moron goes after him. It's like watching, again, my son with his 10-year-old friends. You know how every so often, one kid will get pushed so far with 10-year-olds because they haven't developed the ability, the self-control yet to deal with things. One will get so fed up, they'll just lose control and they'll just start swinging. And then, people will separate them and explain to the kid why you don't lose control. These ICE imbeciles are like those children. So just watch this clip. TikTok, I apologize again for not being able to show it to you, but hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Oh, hang on. I'm clicking the wrong. Just give me I'm sorry, guys. Just bear with me for a second. I have to get. I have to get. Here we go. I only have one monitor, and I have nests of windows on this one monitor that I'm looking at over here. So I always have to find my windows that are in the background. So here's the clip.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Yes, sir! Get back! You know people hate you! Hey! Hey!
I'm going to explain this to you in a second, TikTok, because I know you guys can't see this.
Y'all look good.
I know.
I'm just showing it in its entirety first. It's just a minute, 36 seconds. And then I'm going to play it again, but I'm going to stop the TikTok folks. We can at least explain to them what we're seeing.
Put your arm behind your back. That's how you spend your life.
All right, I think that's enough of this show. So here's what we're gonna do this again. Let me just bring TikTok up. Let me make the TikTok window smaller, if I can, or as small as I can, so I can see what I'm doing. So here's what we're seeing. So you start the video out, right? And what we're seeing right now in the video is there's an ICE agent, one ICE agent, and there's 4 observers. Like they're at a gas station, right? And it's this one immature moron that can't control himself, is this masked moron, right? So you could tell he's a little upset. He's got anger management problems, this guy probably. He probably needs a good therapist, right? You could tell he's a little upset. And he's kind of yelling at the protesters, and they're yelling at him, but they're recording him as they're allowed to do, right? So they're recording him. He's yelling at them, and here he goes. Right here, he pushes a protester, right? Unprovoked, no reason for it, right? This, by the way, just this action. If these were real cops in any local law enforcement, this action. Though you guys can see it, where he pushes the protester, would get you suspended, right? and you'd have to go. You'd be under an investigation because any non-corrupt police department would know that if an officer couldn't be trained to be able to de-escalate and couldn't be trained to just be able to handle being yelled at, it was such a weak-minded coward could never be a police officer, right? He could never be trained effectively because he's a child, right? So he pushes the guy once. The guy stops, and the guy's like, "What the fuck?" Right? He pushes for no reason whatsoever. Here we go. Now watch. Then he runs over, literally runs over. You could tell, and again, you can tell in this image, and again, TikTok, you can't see it. I wish I could show it to you. But what he does is you can tell he's not even trained to, he's not even properly trained. Not only is he not trained, you can see in this image, to de-escalate, to be a mature grown-up, to communicate with someone who isn't breaking the law effectively. Not only is he not trained to do that, but he's not even trained to take someone down. He's not, and again, the only reason I know this is, I studied martial arts for years. My son, when he was 5 years old, we put him in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class, which is, most law enforcement officers now are getting trained on in Brazilian jiu-jitsu because it's such an effective tool for being able to both de-escalate a situation, but also to be able to take someone to the ground if you need to. I'm doing this also with my son. I've been around this for years and years. By no means am I I'm a novice's novice when it comes to it. But when you see this idiot, he jumps up, he grabs the guy around his neck, around. And if you're going to take someone to the ground safely and effectively, you're not going to, and you're trained, you're properly trained, and if there's a reason for it. If this guy that he's going after is bigger and stronger, this fucking idiot, right, is never going to get him to the ground by jumping over him and grabbing his neck. If the guy who he was grabbing here had any basic self-defense knowledge, he could go around, he could grab the officer's legs, he could lift him up, put him down on the ground. He could use the officer's momentum. He could flip him right over his shoulder. So not only are they not trained, you'd never see a real police officer doing this physically because it wouldn't work. They would be taught physically how to take someone down to the ground, do as little damage as possible in the process, and how to succeed at it. But this ICE officer is lucky that he has absolute immunity. His face is covered. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. And the guy who's attacking him, even if who's being attacked by him, even if that guy has any ability to protect himself, he knows better than to try it because the motherfuckers will just shoot him. Let's continue. So he loses them. So right. So that's my point, right? He loses the guy. So we see right here, the guy who he's trying to take down slips out of the idiot's first effort. And the idiot, you can tell, is enraged now, right? He's running, the Gestapo agent. He's running at him. He's going to get him. He's going to get him. And let me see if I can take it a little further. Grabs him again. And now and you get four more, at least it looked to me, I mean, I didn't stop the video quickly enough, but it looked to me like you had at least 4 more ICE goons who then jump in to take this guy to the ground. So somehow, this violence, right? And then you have the rest of the Gestapo, right? The rest of the untrained imbeciles creating a perimeter around the guy who's now getting taken to the ground, getting the shit beat out of him, getting put in handcuffs. And the ICE idiots are standing there. One of them is holding, his bottle of pepper spray, the fucking idiot. The other one is at least using his hand to try to say, stay back. So you have this This is the such a great example of how nothing became something because ICE wanted it to, right? How no violence became absolute violence because ICE instigated it, right? You had an out of control ICE agent who has clearly, is emotionally unstable, immature, has anger management problems, is either angry because he's getting recorded, uh, is angry because these are protesters or observers, whatever he's angry about. The ICE agent pushes the observer for no reason. The observer's like, sorry, I'm not doing anything. I'm okay. Okay. The ICE agent then pretends like, I don't know, like the guy's fighting back, which he isn't, tries to grab him, doesn't know what the fuck he's doing physically, right? So the person who is being attacked by the ICE agent slips away because now the guy is just fighting for his safety. He's not even fighting. He's just trying not to get hurt or killed. Slips away. The ICE agent then acts like that's you know, uh, a criminal running away now from being attacked or from being somehow he's resisting arrest or some shit. So the ICE idiot runs after him again, right? Tries to take him to the ground, but he's still incapable of it because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So then now you get 4 other ICE agents who now perpetuate the violence further. Now they got to take this guy down to the ground for no reason whatsoever other than they want to, right? They want to, and they drop him and they handcuff him, right? And that's exactly what we saw happen to Alex Pretty, right? There was when we saw that second video from the other side of the street when that came out, right? And we saw that video from the woman that was wearing the pink coat, right? And we see that Pretty was directing traffic. An ICE agent came up to him. He was holding a camera. Nothing happened. The ICE Gestapo lost their shit and started pepper spraying him and a woman behind him, right? In the face, nonstop pepper spray. Pretty, who's now getting pepper sprayed for no fucking reason except he held a fucking camera, right? He's now getting pepper sprayed incessantly, but he's a healer. He's somebody who tries to help fucking people. He was an ICU nurse. He goes around and tries to help the woman, tries to save her because they're gonna fucking kill her with the pepper spray. The animals take him to the ground, and when I say animals, I mean that not just as a form of name calling, but that's literally what they're behaving as. When you see say a group of hyenas, you ever see these nature shows, right? And the hyenas are always like they're the scavengers. They're always like the fucking they're almost perceived to be sort of like the low class animals, like the animals that just have if the cheetah and the lion are sort of like the classy ones, right? They chase down their fucking prey, right? They have to work for it. The hyenas are like they're like the opportunist. They're like the con men of the animal kingdom in Africa, right? And so the hyenas will come across and they'll see like a wounded, I don't know, deer-like. I can't think of what they're called on the savannah. The deer-like animals, right? But like a baby version that broke its leg that's on the ground, and so you have one hyena jump in, and they'll be like doing their whatever sound hyenas make, and that'll alert the rest of the fucking hyenas, and the smell of blood and the excitement, and they'll all jump in and they'll kill it and eat it. And that's what these ICE agents are behaving like. That is animal. Am I wrong? Right? Am I wrong? right? A baby gazelle. Thank you, 305 all day. Anybody on TikTok? Any of the anyone from the MAGA community? Anyone from our Xenocracy community on you know, on Substack? I'm sorry, guys, I can't see the. I don't know how many folks. I can't see the chat. I have to figure out how to do that from YouTube. But anybody, if I'm wrong, if you're seeing it differently, call me out now. Tell me, coyotes. Exactly, Gail. Um, sharks on a feeding frenzy in the ocean. Sharks have a little more class than the hyenas do, right? Because they do some of the hard work. But once there's blood in the water, right, they go fucking nuts. Instinct takes over, right? And in the case, and the hyenas, I have nothing against hyenas because I think they have more class than the ice Gestapo because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're animals. They're operating on instinct. The ice Gestapo are worse than animals because they're choosing this. They are like, the sad part about the MAGA community and about the political elite political MAGA class and the class, the MAGA community in general, is Donald Trump taught them. He taught them. And they adopted and adapted the opportunity to be their worst selves. They chose inhumanity because he taught them that was okay. He's, sometimes I shudder when I think about the message that my 10-year-old son is getting from this. Remember back in the day, just 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, the famous thing is you could be president. We would tell young girls, right? If you really work hard, we've made so much progress. You could be president someday. I was growing up, and they would say, I would hear, you could be president, right? And that was as indecent as our presidents have been before Donald Trump. Many of them, some of them not, many of them so. The worst of them was hidden, right? For better or worse. The worst of them was hidden. And as a country, we could say you could be president someday. You could grow up to be president someday. But then in 2016, we elected that fucking pig for the first time because as Americans, we were so goddamn fucking spoiled, right? That fuck democracy. Hillary had some emails and the idiot's telling you that he's going to make you rich, right? And Hillary wasn't likable enough, and she's a woman. So instead, you take the fucking rapist, right? Which we all know because he talked about grabbing the you-know-whats, right? Something must be different on TikTok because I haven't been thrown out yet. So I don't know. I usually would be maybe TikTok's going to be better because by this point the algorithm would have restricted and banned me. So maybe TikTok is going to be better under Larry Ellison. I don't know because I'm surprised that TikTok is still here, right? But we would tell that to people. We would be proud. We would be proud that you could be the president of the United States. And where are we now? Where are we now, America? We've taken democracy for granted so much. And we've allowed hate and rage and racism and bigotry and self-victimization and self-loathing and stupidity to percolate up so strong now that the fucking we went and we elected the biggest criminal moron possible. I mean, you couldn't cast an idiot criminal in a movie that would be as believable as Donald Trump is in real life. Fucking ridiculous. And then we allowed, a big portion of the country allowed that fucking moron to teach them that indecency is not just acceptable, but it's to be rewarded. That inhumanity is not just inappropriate and inhumane, like people need to hide underneath a rock, but it is to be rewarded, that you could become the fucking president of the United States of America if you're a war criminal, an actual fucking criminal, a rapist. I mean, come on, we did it. We did it, America. And now I can't say to my son, you can be president of the United States someday, because the worst of us can be president of the United States someday. And the worst of us can support the president of the United States, United States, when that person is a criminal and an animal. And now we have animals in the streets. Their mothers didn't raise them to be fucking assholes like this. I can't believe that. Not all of them. Not all of them, no. These people were radicalized by an idiot, right? I mean, and I get it, guys. Cults and imbecile-like things have been a thing in American culture forever, right? Jim Jones, those of us that are old enough to remember where the term drinking the Kool-Aid in Jonestown, you had all of those cult members in Jonestown. What country was Jonestown in? I don't remember. But and they killed themselves, right? Because Jim Jones told them to do it. But cults, you had, what was the name, in Waco, Texas. Remember Waco, guys? That fucking nightmare, right? You know, we are a nation that has cults, right? It happens. But I have never in my lifetime seen half the country, now thankfully less than a third of the country, in a cult. And this cult is so ridiculous because it's a cult of being your worst self. It's they're not even, at least with fucking Jim Jones, he was God, right? And they thought and remember that doomsday cult like 20 years ago in California when there was a comet or something coming by and they thought the aliens were going to pick them up, right? And they all killed themselves, that night because they thought the aliens were going to pick them up or some shit. At least there was a higher purpose. The purpose of this cult is a lower purpose. It's to be the laziest, dumbest, most profane shit fuck that you can possibly make yourself into. And then you can be president. I don't know. I don't even know how I got here. I was just, sorry, guys. I think as I was sharing this video and I was watching it and I was kind of, thinking about it, I just kind of devolved into that rant. Jonestown was in Guyana. Thank you for Waco, Texas was David Koresh. And that was, and how do you know all of this, Gamer Vet Dad? It's incredible. And Heaven's Gate was the people who killed themselves to go onto the spaceship that was the comet. But yeah, guys, I guess my point is the macro. I'll get back to the micro point, but the macro point is that that if there's an upside to this nightmare that has been the Trump administration two times over, if we survive it, it's that those of us that haven't become our worst selves, that haven't become part of the cult of MAGA, or those who have left the cult of MAGA, I know I can speak for myself, and I know I'm training my son. Training is the wrong word. Teaching my son, and anybody who will listen, that I don't take my country for granted anymore. And I'm sure I did. And I know democracy, you can lose it in an instant. I would hear that cliche before, and I'd be like, yeah, whatever. But I know it now, and I've learned how precious, how precious our freedom is as we're watching it being taken away, as people are dying to save it. And we're used to the stars and stripes. We're used to as Americans, sending our soldiers off for real wars or fake wars, and honoring the bodies when they come back from Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran, right? We're used to honoring the bodies and crying, feeling the pain, you know, for these people, for these citizens that bravely died for a reason or for no reason. But we've never felt the actual sting that my parents felt as young children when World War II was happening and our democracy really might go away, right? And now we feel it, and I get it. I get why my parents think the way they do about the country, because they know we can fucking lose it. As kids, their parents had to try to explain to my parents who this guy named Hitler was. And especially being Jewish, my parents, my grandparents had to try to help my parents as children understand why all these Jews were being slaughtered, and subsequently why we could lose what we had. And my grandparents came from Russia, where, they were being chased down and murdered in their shtetls, their little neighborhoods, rural neighborhoods, by the Tsar, by the anti-Semitic forces there, right? So they knew what democracy was. And when they got here, they were thankful for it. When my grandparents arrived here as children, I know they were thankful for it. And I know when the call came for World War II, those who could go went, because now they were going to fight for it, even though they had only experienced democracy for 20 years, right, at that point, or 30 years, because that's how long they'd been in the country. Or they would send their children to die to protect this democracy, even though they'd only tasted it themselves. And I get it now, guys, a little bit more. And I will never take it for granted again, right? I will never not put a flag out on my lawn on July 4th. I will never not do that again. And I never would have done that because I took it all fucking for granted, right? I will never miss a fucking election. I will never have a local election like I had up until this year, because I'm all about national politics, and that's where my interests are. I will never not know who my mayor is and who my council people are and what they're all about, because I don't take it for granted anymore. Not when there's a Gestapo, an actual Gestapo in real time in the streets of an American city killing people. No, I won't do it again. So I don't know how I got there, but from where I was. But that's the macro that I didn't realize I was going to talk about today. The micro is we have to be vigilant. Because even though there was, this is where I started the live, guys. Even though there was all of this window dressing by the, oh, hang on, I just got to let TikTok know I'm still here. I cannot believe that I cannot believe that this TikTok live has not been ended. I am cautiously optimistic that I know TikTok has the potentiality to turn into a right-wing cesspool with Larry Ellison, but all I can tell you is that this is the first time in over a year and a half when I've been doing a live on TikTok and used words like murder and Gestapo and Trump and I haven't been blocked, banned, or some other thing. So maybe, I do. Vespa, hang on. Vespa 4747. I do, my friend, have a fucking clue what the Gestapo is. I certainly do. 100%. And normally, and ignorance is the root of all violence, but ignorance to, Your knowledge of my knowledge is laughable. Because, my friend, let me make it clear right now. Stick around for this. Don't leave, please, because you need to be set straight, my friend. I grew up as a conservative Jew in Northeast Philadelphia. I went to Hebrew school, much to not liking it, after school every fucking day, 5 days a week, and I had to go to services every fucking Saturday. Hate it. My parents weren't religious Jews. That's just what you did. Now, stick with me, please, for another moment, Vespa, because I need to educate you about what the Gestapo is and what I know, my friend, and how I feel that I am quite qualified to talk about the Gestapo and ICE in the same sentence, my friend. One of the things as a preschool child that our synagogue insisted on, and I don't think you had this experience because I still have PTSD from it. One of the things that our preschool insisted on, and subsequently every year in Hebrew school we had to experience every week after week after week, is they showed us the Nazi propaganda films. They showed us the films of the gas chambers. They showed us the people dying. Imagine a 6-year-old seeing this stuff day in and day out because they wanted to train us, not just to understand the Gestapo. They wanted to fully educate us about every aspect of the Holocaust, my friend, right? They wanted to train us to grow up for a very specific reason. Never again. Because that was the Jewish mantra then, as it should be now, even though Israel has not followed that with its Holocaust in Gaza. But they trained us. Never again, never again, never again. We are going to scar our children emotionally because they must never let this happen again. They must not sit quietly. They must stand up and fight. They must be primed. They must be prepared. They must be qualified to recognize a Gestapo when they fucking see it. And I spent my entire childhood being trained on what the Gestapo was, my friend. So don't fucking call me out that I am ignorant to this, because no. I don't know a lot. I really don't. I bullshit about a lot of things that I think I know about, and I hope I'm right, and I get fact-checked on it all the time, and I am fine with that. But what I do know, I know. And unfortunately, I grew up with the Gestapo ingrained in my DNA. And let me take it a step further, my dear friend. Let me take it a step further, my dear friend. Not only did we have that experience day in and day out in religious school where we learned about the Gestapo, but guess who also was still alive? Guess who also was always in our synagogue? Guess who our teachers were? Guess who our co-congregants were? They were people who on their fucking arms had numbers, tattoos numbered to their arms. They were the Holocaust survivors who lived it. And do you think they didn't tell us the stories? They did. And they didn't want to, because at the time, the thought was, we don't talk about it because it's too painful. But when they came to the synagogue, that's where they broke the news to us, when they broke down in tears. That's when they showed up. That was the only place where it was okay to talk about the Gestapo. To 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. Day in and day out, these survivors talked to us, told us what happened, told us who the Gestapo was. And guess how the effect that had on us as children? You know the effect it had? We shook in fear when we would go to services and somebody new would come in. and we would see the fucking numbers tattooed to their arm, we instantly knew what they went through. We instantly knew how the Gestapo and how the SS starved them. We instantly had a vision in our minds what these people who were children at the time, who are our age at the time, what they looked like when they were malnourished. You know, when they were paper thin, when they could barely walk, and we were terrified. So kindly fuck off if you think I don't know what I'm talking about when I see Gestapo on on American streets. Furthermore, there was a point in my life when I was a screenwriter. I wrote a movie. I wrote a screenplay. It was called The Chimneys. The screenplay was a 165 page screenplay called The Chimneys, where I did a deep dive, a deep, an even deeper investigation than I ever did as a kid. And where I specifically had characters that were Gestapo agents, and I needed it to be historically accurate. And that screenplay, my friend, although it never was made into an actual movie, I did send that screenplay out to Steven Spielberg, who wrote one of the Schindler's List and directed Schindler's List, the greatest Holocaust movie that we've had. And Spielberg himself got back to me about my screenplay, thanking me for it, but telling me that he cannot make another Holocaust movie because he had nothing left after Schindler's List. It took everything out of him. And lastly, I spent almost 5 years working at Gratz College years later as an information technology director. And one of the groups at Gratz College is a Jewish college right outside of Pennsylvania. One of the groups that I supported, one of the groups that I helped build a video archive for, were the very last of our Holocaust survivors, because Gratz had a very big Holocaust memorabilia project connected to its library, because we should never forget. And because Steven Spielberg had a project where he wanted to record as many memories, as many eyewitness testimonies of Holocaust survivors as he possibly could. And we took part in that project, and we recorded the last of them. These very, very old people who survived the Holocaust. So, you know what? Thankfully, I was born at a time where I didn't have to live through it. Thank God. And thankfully, those survivors had the courage to come back and to teach us about what happened. And thankfully, our parents who were trying to protect us allowed that to happen, because they also understood we have to scar our children to save our children and to save the future. But please, whether it's on TikTok or any other fucking platform, do not try to tell me when we see Gestapo on our streets that I don't know what it looks like. Because although thankfully I was blessed not to live it, I lived it secondhand, third hand, fourth hand, and fifth hand. So that's not something I'm going to tolerate. And I will call out my own community. The biggest disgrace next to Donald Trump and the damage that he's doing, at least for Americans, for American Jews, the biggest disgrace is Benjamin Netanyahu and the Holocaust that he engaged in, and that Jews who within memory lived through the most significant Holocaust in human history perpetuated in Gaza. So anyway, I was on a little bit of a roll there. Sorry. But I just, Vespa 4747. Did you just, and again, Vespa, I, now that I'm calmer, my intent, I want to say my intent was not to single you out, but I did. And that was my intent when I was mad, 7 minutes ago. But my intent was to speak with passion to the broader community. And my intent was beyond just being mad for 10 minutes at Vespa Vespa. My intent was to really, with an impassioned sense of urgency, reinforce this narrative that this is what the Nazis did. It's just American style. And we don't have to surrender to it. And we're not. The difference between Germany, 1933, leading up to 1945, the difference between Germany and then, because the comparisons are all there, is America is fucking standing up, man. America is not a homogenous place full of white people either. Like, we are passionate here in America, with the exception of those who are not. But Americans are passionate. When you take something away from them, they don't fucking like it. And we are passionate about our freedom and our democracy. And we are passionate about the fact that we are a nation of fucking immigrants, no matter what Stephen Miller, that self-loathing vampire creep in the White House, no matter what his personal problems are that have caused him to be so hateful. We are passionate about that reality, and we're not fucking letting you have it. MAGA, Donald, that little biatch, back down. Greg, little Napoleon fucking Bovino, is not fired. There's been a lot of social media buzz that he's out of a job and he's resigned. That hasn't happened. Maybe it will, but that's not real. But he's reassigned, right, somewhere else, right? You know, 2 people gave up their lives already. Well, 3, 2 that we've seen on camera, gave up their lives, died to protect, America, and not to give up to this. We're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. And the village idiot and the cowards around him are no match for what we can see, which is the clear power of real America. And real America isn't rural America or not, or urban America. It isn't, spaces filled with rage and hate and stupidity on either side. Real America is this moment when there is where there is a line that says freedom, humanity, and we're a nation of immigrants. That's real America. And as much as we made a mistake by taking our democracy for granted for so many years, we're not giving up real America. Not today, or not anytime soon. Anyway, guys, I am so sorry that I took so long babbling incessantly. I had to kind of get all that out, though, and I usually like to read a lot of your comments. I'm really heartened by the fact that on TikTok we're still here, right? And I'm really heartened by the fact that there's over 100 people that haven't been knocked out of the chat yet. So especially with this kind of live that I did today, and I'm always incredibly thankful for my for our Xenocracy community on Substack. Please go over there if you're, and I don't mean to not shout out to YouTube. Thank you for those of you that are on YouTube that are watching this now. If you want more in-depth analysis, Gamer Vet Dad writes killer articles. He's got a piece that you need to see about the triggers and the comparisons between the Nixon administration and the Trump administration. It'll make you feel better unless you're part of the MAGA community. If you're part of the MAGA community, it might be a good read for you anyway to kind of see what's coming. But so we've got his articles coming and up there, and I go live there every day, Monday through Friday. So please consider coming over there. Please consider subscribing. Subscription is free. If you want to support my work, you can be a paid subscriber. But there's as much love for anybody who joins the community. It's a tight community. We're about supporting each other emotionally. We're about getting through this. We're about calling out the truth. and the news. We're about politics and the news. So please consider the link is in the in the profile on Substacks. It's and for I'm sorry on TikTok. I'm at xenocracy.news on for those on YouTube that I don't have a link over there yet. Anyway, guys, I've got to wrap the live because over at Chorus we have our daily briefing in about 3 minutes, and I'm going to hear what's trending on social today and what might be good to cover and what might be useful to message because we're trying to coordinate our messaging as well to the best of our ability. So I love you guys. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, one live at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sitting through my rant. My apologies for not reading any of your posts today. Normally, I try to do that. We're going to wrap. Let me just head TikTok. I'm going to shut you guys down first since it's a separate platform and I have to go one at a time. And then I will. Then we'll head out of YouTube and Substack. So take care, TikTok. I'll see you guys again soon. Okay, so we are out of TikTok, YouTube, and Xenocracy. Thank you. I love you guys. Thank you for the group therapy today. Clearly, I really fucking needed it. I love you guys. And if you missed this live, well, you're here, so this doesn't matter. But it's got, I'm going to post it in just a couple of hours as soon as I have a choice. Be well, everybody, and I'll see you soon.